Good morning. Welcome to Melrose Unitarian Universalist Church. Let's see, we've got an echo here. What am I doing wrong? Let's see, is it still there? Sorry, everybody, bear with me. My mic is on, my computer is muted. I am muted in Zoom. But now I'm unmuted in Zoom. I think I'm supposed to be unmuted in Zoom. Can people on Zoom hear me? Okay. It's so hard to go back and forth between modalities. I am bound to make mistakes. Well, let's take a deep breath. Welcome to Melrose UU Church. Our service today is called All About Love. Good morning. I am the Reverend Dr. Suzanne Intriligator. My pronouns are she and her, and I'm just so delighted to see people in the room with me. Yay! It's been a couple months, and I have really missed you. Thank you for coming in and having to shovel out and everything this morning. I didn't think so many folks would come. It's delightful. Oh, just one little reminder for people in the room. We're doing Joys and Sorrows on paper for people in the room, so there's little slips back in the brick hall if you didn't see them. Or maybe John's moved them inside, I don't know, they're here. So here is a question for you. What do Valentine's Day and the Super Bowl have in common besides this weekend? Well, probably a lot of things, but what I was thinking was commercials. Messages that you are not enough, that you should want stuff and things. Don't you believe it? You are enough, you have enough, you do enough. Welcome to worship. Helping me out today is our in-person usher, John Raymond, and our Zoom chat host, Wendy Mastronardi. Thank you both. Today, I'm a little sad to start the announcements with having to cancel one of our plans. Beth Cockerham was all ready to host for us a special coffee hour on the front lawn this morning with treats to celebrate our return to in-person worship, but snow, so no. We will do it another time, and today we will retreat after worship to Parish Hall for some conversation with our masks on, and folks on Zoom will have their regular Zoom room. We will have treats again someday. The weather will turn at some point, I believe. But plans are still a big go for next Sunday when a lot is happening here. First, we'll have a guest preacher that I'm really excited about, the Reverend Danielle DeBona, who will talk about her experience as both a Wampanoag, Native American, and a Unitarian Universalist. Then following worship, instead of coffee hour, we'll have a fun skit to mark the opening of our silent auction, part of our annual auction. Then later in the afternoon, we've got fire pit fun. That's going to happen at 4 different locations from 3:30 to 5:30. Today is the last day to sign up for that event. So I put the invite, all the info you need in today's worship reminder, which should be at the top of your email inbox right now. Also, tomorrow is the last day to sign up for Beloved Conversations this spring. That's the amazing online anti-racism course for UUs that right now will cost you nothing because church is going to pay full tuition for the next 4 people to sign up. So we're going to have 5 in total, I hope. Info on that and how to take advantage of the scholarship is also in your worship reminder today. And now, we have one more last announcement from the captain of our safety team, Kathy Sang. Kathy, are you here with us?
Yeah, I am. Good morning, everybody. On behalf of the Safety Task Group, I'm pleased to welcome those of you in attendance today in the sanctuary, as well as those participating via Zoom, such as myself. And as we announced via the midweek update earlier this month, with the rapidly dropping numbers of COVID in our community, we have gone back to the guidelines we used in November and early December. Yay! That means, in addition to hybrid services starting today, our e-activities, choir practice, and meetings at the church can resume this month according to specific guidelines that are detailed on the safety page on the church website. Now, overall, the current guidelines specify when inside the building, everyone over the age of 2 must wear a mask. Now, the KN95 is required for the Sunday church services and the indoor coffee hour and choir practice. For church meetings, KN95 masks are recommended, but cloth masks may also be worn. Ventilators must be running in the room being used. No food or beverage consumption is allowed, and social distance as best possible. We do not have the resources to check every meeting, nor do we want to. We expect that you will police yourselves. We ask that you be respectful of the time and effort the Safety Task Group puts into making these tough decisions and of the safeties of others in our beloved community. What right seems right for you may not be right for everyone, and we're trying to find the line down the middle. The task group will meet again the first week of March and will announce if further changes to our protocols can be made. In the meantime, thank you for your continued support.
Kathy. Today's service is going to be a little bit different from usual. I find myself saying that a lot, and that's a good thing. That means we're being creative. We are attempting today a shared sermon, shared not only between two people, two presenters, but also shared across in-person and online. It may be a little tricky. It will be interesting. It will be all about love. I created the service working with longtime member Karen Gabler. For a living, Karen started out as a massage therapist, and then she added more bodywork modalities to help people connect with their body's brilliant design so they can address physical, emotional, and spiritual pain. Karen will be leading us today in an embodied prayer and then sharing the sermon time with me. So, that's all the announcements. Let's go ahead and get started. It's time for our weekly moment to greet one another. Those here in person can say hi, wave hello, send hugs like this, wave to people on the screen. Oh, look, we've got everyone up on the screen. I'm going to wave to them. Hi, everybody. Good morning. Hi, everybody out there. Look, it's a big crowd. It's so nice. Look at all these people and their lovely, shiny faces. Good morning. Happy Super Bowl Sunday if you celebrate. Happy Valentine's, Galentine's, or just all about love day. Thank you for being here. Okay, it's time for the call to worship. For his service this weekend, my friend and colleague, the Reverend Dan Schatz, wrote 9 new poems about love. He gave me permission when I asked him if I could use 2 of them for our call to worship this morning. These are love poems by Dan Schatz. First, the soul reaches to give, to feel, to be alive. Love stretches out, connection, caring, compassion, worship. Poem 2. I had no voice. I could not sing. In my heart lay emptiness and fear. I pursued love, but found love hollow, until through long years, I came to know myself and found I could give. Let us worship. Now, along with UUs everywhere, we light the symbol of our faith, the flaming chalice. This morning, longtime member Mark Viola is here to light the chalice and give us a reading. Come on up, Mark.
Transform the world. May the flame of this chalice honor and embody the power of the blessing of the love that we need, the love that we give, and the love that we are challenged always to remember and to share.
Our opening hymn this morning is There is a Love, with words by the Reverend Dr. Rebecca Parker and music by Beth Norton, music director of First Parish Concord. In celebration of being back together in the sanctuary again, I've invited a few choir members to join me in leading this first song. Thank you. I'll give you cues as we're singing as well, but here's how we'll do it this morning. First, we will sing all together in unison with the singular pronouns me and I. There'll be music up there in a second. This will all make sense. Then we'll sing together with collective pronouns us and we. And then we'll sing it in a round together, still using those us and we pronouns. So let's please rise in body or in spirit, and let's sing together. There is a love, there is a love holding me, there is a love holding all that I love, there is a love holding all I rest in this love. There is a love holding us. There is a love holding us. Holding all that we love. There is a love holding all that we love. There is a love holding all. We rest. We rest in this love. Starting over here. There is a love holding us. There is a love holding us. There is a love holding all that we love. There is a love holding all. We rest. We rest in this love. We rest. We rest in this love. Two more times. We rest in this love. We rest in this love.
To having people here, please continue to stand and join with me in the words of our covenant. Love is the doctrine of this church. The quest for truth is its sacrament, and service is its prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge in freedom, to serve humankind in fellowship, to the end that all souls shall grow into harmony with the divine. This is our great covenant, one with another and with our God. It's time to be seated. Thank you. And now it's time for our story. This one was written by the Reverend Misha Sanders, our minister in Sandy Springs, Georgia. Another minister, Laura Thompson, loved the story so much that she made it into a video, which we're going to see now. So here is a true story, an event that actually happened to Misha when she was 6 years old in her very conservative church's Sunday school. It's called Red Bubble Letters.
I'm Mrs. Sanders, and this braver, wiser reflection is called Red Bubble Letters. My sister had just taught me how to make bubble letters, which I thought would surely impress all my friends. So, before all the other children arrived, I drew and meticulously colored in big, wobbly red letters, "God is love," on the green chalkboard in my kindergarten Sunday school classroom. Not long into class, after all the children had arrived and pretty much ignored my artistry, one of my all-time favorite teachers picked up an eraser and began to swipe over the dusty old board, much to my dismay. But I was even more dismayed that my artistic creation did not seem to be fading, despite her vigorous attempt. Mysterious. Miraculous, perhaps. Turns out that red chalk that was, in my defense, on the chalk tray was actually a stumpy little red crayon. The tears started, as I recall, right about the time friends began whispering that I was definitely in big trouble. I was as mortified as a 6-year-old can get. I was mortified, that is, only until that beautiful, wise Sunday school teacher scooped me into her arms, and in a clear moment of amazing grace, I heard her deep alto laugh in my ear, and she said, "Oh, no one is in trouble. Don't you see, dear children, this is just perfect. What can erase God's love? Nothing." She ended the warm hug with a squeeze and then gleefully picked up a piece of white chalk and began quickly writing around my unintentionally semi-permanent crayon art all of the things that we could think to yell out that might make us feel unlovable in the eyes of God. Lying, cheating in school, cussing, hitting your brother, cutting in line for the slide, chewing gum in church. It was a lot for kids, those conservative religious rules in the 70s. But then with dramatic flourish, she again picked up the dusty eraser and wiped it all away, leaving only "God is love." God is love in big, wobbly red bubble letters. It is my only memory of a lesson from kindergarten Sunday school class. And maybe it's the only one that counts. Here's a prayer. Spirit of love, when we try hard but make a mess anyway, because we are all only precious children after all, may we remember to laugh, hold each other close, and marvel at the truth that remains, which in the end is only love.
Each week in our worship, we set time aside for prayer and meditation, a time for each of us to come into contact with the holy, however it is we experience that. Let's start together by relaxing into our chairs, feeling our feet on the floor, feeling our bodies settle. Let's breathe in and out together. In this meditation time, first we join together in the centering song, and then we sit for a few minutes of silence together. Then we speak to one another of our joys and sorrows, and then we end with a meditation. Our worship theme for February is widening the circle, a time to consider how to open our minds, open our hearts, open our communities to growth and change. Our centering song for the month expresses those goals beautifully. Here is our choir with "Circle Round for Freedom." We sing it through twice. Please join in as you like.
Circle round for freedom, circle round for peace, for all of us imprisoned. Circle for release. Circle for the planet. Circle for each soul. For the children of our children. Keep the circle whole. Circle round for freedom. Circle round for peace. For all of us in prison. Circle for release. Circle for the planet. Circle for each soul. For the children of our children. Keep the circle whole.
Every Sunday, we share with one another our personal joys and sorrows, the milestones of our lives. We listen with care and compassion, witnessing one another and growing our community's ties stronger. If you have a sorrow to share today, please type it into the chat box if you're at home, and I will read them aloud. And our usher, John, will come forward and read any paper joys and sorrows from people in the room. Oh, good, John. Step behind that so that you will be on the camera. And, okay. I will start. Mary Beth says, as the granddaughter of immigrants from the Ukraine, I am watching and dreading the unfolding events at the border with Russia. May the eyes of the watching world be enough to restrain the forces of another invasion and possible war. Thank you, Mary Beth. Rebecca writes, prayers for my Aunt Peggy in North Carolina, who has been battling brain cancer. She's not doing well and has entered into hospice. Wishing her and her family a sense of peace. John, do we have sorrows from people here? Sorrows? No sorrows. Okay. Let's see, Wendy. Did I miss any sorrows in the chat? Wendy says no. All right. Let us take a moment to hold these sorrows in our minds and hearts. Let us remember today to reach out to all who are hurting. May they feel our love and support. John, will you light the gray candle as a beacon of care for all the sorrows spoken and unspoken today? And now we ask for all the joys that you would like to share. Go ahead and type them into the chat box. And I think we've got some on paper. John, why don't you go first?
The joy from Dan Griscom, a joy to worship in person.
It is a joy to worship in person. Yes, it is. Let's see. From Jane Foley, candle of joy for Julia, who turns 19 tomorrow. Happy birthday, Julia. From Cheryl, joy. Lily had her first dance competition of the season yesterday. Her 2 dance groups did really well, getting a gold and a high gold. She also did a solo for the first time and received a high gold. Her jazz group routine also had a first place in teen small group. Looking forward to her next competition in April. From Donna C. Oh, we have 2 Donna C's. I'm not sure which one this is, but she says, joy and gratitude for MUUC Zoom. I have attended streamed services on YouTube, and only our sometimes awkward Zoom is what has truly touched me. Reached me, she says. What's truly reached me. Yeah, so sometimes the live is a little bit, there's something special about live, isn't there? Even though sometimes it's a little messy. A joy from Michelle, our RIM client from Nepal has received her working papers. Hooray! It was Donna Cantillo. Thanks, Donna. Okay, Wendy, did I miss any joys in the chat? Wendy says no. Oh, I see another one pop up from Aaron. Joy. Sean is recovering well and prognosis is very good. Thank you, thank you, thank you for everyone who has reached out with good wishes and support and yummy meals. Thank you. Any other joys? Did I already ask you?
Just one from me for a very long phone conversation with an old college friend.
Oh, good. That is a joy. Wonderful. Let's hold all of these in our hearts for a moment and feel our gratitude. Thank you for everyone who shared a joy. You help to connect us and you remind us of the beauty of living. John, please light one more candle to shine out our thanks for all the many blessings in our lives. And now we have a meditation that will be led for us by Karen Gabler via Zoom. I'm hoping that she will appear here momentarily. You look great. Go ahead.
Thich Nhat Hanh was a Vietnamese Buddhist monk, peace activist, prolific author, poet, and teacher who just recently passed away at the age of 95. His wisdom touched so many people. If you go to YouTube, you can find his talk on 16 exercises on mindful breathing. The first exercise is to be aware of your in-breath and your out-breath. To focus on the breath, you can release the past and the future. This is because the mind can only focus on one thing at a time. Breathing mindfully sets you free. Since you are not under the influence of anger, fear, anxiety, or doubt, you can make better decisions in life. He says this exercise is so simple, yet it has great effect. One of my favorite meditations from Thich Nhat Hanh is especially dear to me because it involves the body. So take a moment to settle into your chair. Let your eyes close, your jaw soften. Allow your shoulder blades to melt down your back and lengthen your low back and tailbone, and then soften and ground in your feet. Your body is your first home. Breathing in, I arrive in my body. Breathing out, I am home. Breathing in, I arrive in my body. Breathing out, I am home. Breathing in, I arrive in my body. Breathing out, I am home. We can't hear you on Zoom.
I'm going to give Bill a minute to work on that. I'm muted?
Now we can.
Oh, good.
Now it's right.
Wonderful, thank you. You can contribute either way using the orange button in the top right corner of our homepage at melroseuu.org. Folks here in the room can leave their donations in the plate on the table in the back as you go. For February, our giving partner, which was chosen by our anti-racism team, is Arise Springfield. Arise is a 30-year-old community organization in Western Mass that centers the voices and needs of local poor people. It works on issues like housing, homelessness, and criminal justice. Half of our collection this month will go to Arise. And now, for our offertory music, I am excited to introduce you to Nemo Patel and Empty Hands Music. When he was young, Nemo dreamed of fame and fortune. He planned to go to an Ivy League college, then work on Wall Street and become a famous rapper. He got a lot of the way there, but then in his mid-20s, he had kind of a spiritual awakening, and he decided instead to move to Gandhi's ashram in Ahmedabad, India. And for 10 years, he's worked there with kids, teaching them music and drama, and creating a music troupe that actually toured the world of kids from the slums in India. Then he founded what he calls Empty Hands Music, which is where he writes the songs. He creates this amazing, I think, deeply spiritual, world-class hip-hop music that he makes beautiful videos, and he gives them all away free online as a love offering for the world. You'll be seeing more of them, I think, in worship here as we go on. Or if you need uplift at any time, just go to YouTube and type in Empty Hands Music. It's there for everyone. This song is called Keep Loving by Nemo Patel. It was filmed in a place that I consider sacred, the New York City subway, before the pandemic. Keep loving. I hope we can listen loud, because I think it's good loud.
Whether you're different, same ignorant or intelligent, whether you tell the truth, lie or embellish it, whether you live in gratitude or for the hell of it, it doesn't really matter, it's still one single fellowship. Whether you've been lustful or living celibate, whether you're an optimist or only see the negative, whether you're dead broke or rich from inheritance, doesn't really matter, we're made of the same sediment. Whether you got a family or single parenting, or you're Asian, African, European or American, whether you pray to God or atheist is irrelevant, cause what you got inside is the same as all your people. It'll change your heart, it'll change your mind, and then helping the troubled and the homeless. Can you say everywhere you are is where your home is? Sharing your heart in the dark just like a lotus, letting your light shine bright so you can float it. Everlasting love of grace like those did Jesus, Muhammad, Krishna, Buddha, and Moses, who carried the weight of the world upon their shoulders. So every time you fall down, go ahead and hold this close to your heart, cause you're a love soldier. And every time you get a chance, you pay it forward. Moving closer to heaven's gates, we're all soaring. Because of you, love is where we're headed towards. Sharing, gotta keep on trying, gotta keep on caring, gotta keep the light on through dark and despair, gotta spread the love where nobody cares. Gotta keep on loving, gotta keep on sharing, gotta keep on trying, gotta keep on caring, gotta keep the light on through dark and despair. So keep loving. Trying, gotta keep on caring, gotta keep the light on through dark and despair, gotta spread the love where nobody cares. Gotta keep on loving, gotta keep on sharing, gotta keep on trying, gotta keep on caring, gotta keep the light on through dark and despair. So keep loving, it'll change your heart, it'll change your mind, and then you'll start to change. So keep loving.
Okay, that may have been a little too loud. We just got new speakers. I'm a little too excited about that. So we have 2 readings today, and Karen is going to start us off. Karen, we're going to look at bell hooks, and we're going to hear first about bell hooks, and then we'll see Karen reading. Go ahead, Karen.
Can you hear me, everyone? Okay.
Yes.
2 readings today from the American author, professor, and social activist Bell Hooks, who passed away just this past December 15th. She published 40 books, including poetry and children's stories, bringing academic theory to regular people with an accessible style. Bell Hooks' works explore the intersections of race, capitalism, and gender. Here are 2 readings from her book, All About Love, which was published in the year 2000. I began to speak more openly about the place of spirituality in my life when witnessing the despair of my students, their sense of hopelessness, their fears that life is without meaning, their profound loneliness and lovelessness. When young, bright, beautiful students would come to my office and confess their despondency, I felt it was irresponsible to just listen and commiserate with their woes without daring to share I had confronted similar issues in my life. Often they would urge me to tell them how I sustained my joy in living. To tell the truth, I had to be willing to talk openly about spiritual life. And I had to find a way to talk about my choices that did not imply that they would be the correct or right choices for someone else.
And here's an excerpt from the end of that book. Love redeems. Despite all the lovelessness that surrounds us, nothing has been able to block our longing for love, the intensity of our yearning. The transformative power of love is not fully embraced in our society because we often wrongly believe that torment and anguish is our natural condition. This assumption seems to be affirmed by the ongoing tragedy that prevails in modern society. To return to love, we must surrender the will to power. We cannot love if any feeling of vulnerability strikes terror in our hearts. Lovelessness torments. The space of our lack is also the space of possibility. As we yearn, we make ourselves ready to receive the love that is coming to us as gift, as promise, as earthly paradise. Unquote. So, if you are a member of our private group on Facebook, just the church people, you may know that this week I shared some UU-themed Valentines in anticipation of the holiday tomorrow. If you didn't see them, I've got a little sampling for you here. Now remember that these were written for UUs. Here we go, I'll read them to you if you can't see them. One says, "You could take too long at joys and sorrows, and I'd still listen." And the other one says, "Hey baby, want to have some just, equal, and compassionate human relations?" Hubba hubba, right? So maybe we UUs may be a little challenged in the romance department, sure, but I think we're also onto something here. Because exactly how do you go about actually having just, equal, and compassionate human relations in the real world, in your own actual life? And maybe we UUs are maybe the only ones who are putting the question this way. What is love? What is it that is actually loving? How do we go about making it and sharing it and growing it? These are some good questions, and welcome to today's sermon. As I said at the top, it's a shared sermon. Why is that? Well, in last Tuesday's worship committee meeting on Zoom, I was telling folks that I was planning to preach on Valentine's Day on love, and that I'd found the perfect book to help me that was currently blowing my mind. Bell Hooks is all about love. "I'm reading that too," chimed in Karen Gabler. "And yes, it's blowing my mind too." What a weird coincidence. So we made a date to discuss it, and here we are today. Go ahead, Karen.
Thank you. I'm honored to be here with you. Not long ago, I found this book all about love on my coffee table in my living room. My daughter was reading it at the time, and living with two bright and educated millennials, my daughter Catherine and her friend and my second daughter Katie, for a full year during the pandemic has taught me to listen deeply to our young people. They are showing us the way forward. They are educating me about my place in our racist, white privileged, patriarchal system. I picked up the book and I started reading it and was immediately drawn to the message. And as I go into my 70th decade, I want to be a more loving person. Instead of seeking love outside myself, I want to look within and seek my barriers to love. And this book helps me do that.
So, first, what do we mean when we speak about love? Hooks's book starts with a whole chapter on definitions, because how can we have a real discussion until we decide what exactly we're talking about? So our culture, of course, is obsessed with romantic love. But we all know there are many more kinds of love. Love for our friends, love for our kids, love for parents who have gone before us, love for our communities, love for our nation, and for all humanity. How are these the same, and how are they different? Too often, the culture teaches us to focus on love as a feeling, a desire. But that feeling can exist in relationships where there's also abuse or a lack of respect or trust. And so they are not actually loving. In truth, love is far more than a feeling. It's an intentional practice, a choice, a way of life. Bell Hooks lands on a two-part definition of love. First, she goes to psychiatrist M. Scott Peck's classic definition from his 1978 book, The Road Less Traveled, and then she adds some really good how-to advice. I have it on a slide. Maybe that will show up in a second. Thank you, Bill. You're on top of things. I appreciate you. So the top one says, what is love? Love is the will to extend oneself for the purpose of nurturing one's own or another's spiritual growth. This is Peck's definition. How do we do it? And this is where Bell Hooks adds. To truly love, we must learn to mix various ingredients: care, affection, recognition, respect, commitment, trust, as well as open and honest communication. That's a lot. Of course, we first learn about love in childhood. Whether our homes are happy or troubled, whether our families are functional or dysfunctional, home is the original school of love.
Most of us come from dysfunctional families. I did, yet I didn't know it. I grew up in the 1950s and 60s in a middle-class family. My parents were well-educated, caring, affectionate, and provided me with financial security. We looked like a perfect family. I thought of myself as being loved. But my parents really didn't know how to love. Their marriage was not a match made in heaven. My father, a jovial salesman, drank, and the fights between him and my mother would ensue. My sister and I thought this was normal. When my father was away on business trips, our house would be calm and my mother was more relaxed. When my father returned, though, the energy in our home would change. I remember a part of me clamped down in protection from his tirades, which would come like clockwork after several cocktails. In my 30s, I began therapy, and I realized that my father was an alcoholic and my mother was a codependent. I had spent a lot of my life denying the bad things that had happened and clinging to the good, delicious moments of when I had known care. It was a rude awakening in therapy and a painful process to critically examine my childhood experiences and acknowledge that they had an impact on my adult behavior. I remember promising myself I would never marry my father and I would not allow myself to follow in my mother's footsteps. I would stand up for myself. Bell Hooks writes, love and abuse cannot coexist. There was abuse in my home, and I was not truly loved.
As adults, then, we go out into the world as products of our families, that original school of love. Bell Hooks writes, to return to love, to get the love we always wanted but never had, we seek out romantic relationships. She goes on, we wanted the lover to appear, but most of us were not really clear about what we wanted to do with them, what love was, the love that we wanted to make and how we would make it. We were not ready to open our hearts fully.
I entered my marriage in this way. My husband, Bob, and I cared for each other. We were affectionate and we respected and were loyal to each other. Well, years into the marriage and after the birth of our beautiful children, it became evident to me there was ongoing emotional dysfunction. It took me a while, but I realized I had married an alcoholic. The family dramas I had grown up with were being replicated in my own family. I watched myself and my husband modeling my parents' marriage in front of our beloved children. I thought I had promised myself I would not be in this situation. It was humbling. As my marriage sank into lovelessness, I became despondent. I felt so lonely. I went to my husband, sharing my yearning for connection with him. I pleaded with him to go to couples counseling. We tried date nights, we tried everything, and nothing worked. So I went into my own therapy once again. My therapist encouraged me to be with my lonely little girl, what's called inner child work. If I could heal this part of myself and show it to my husband, let him be in this place with me, maybe I could deepen our marriage.
Bell Hooks quotes the psychotherapist John Wellwood about this. When we reveal ourselves to our partner and find that this brings healing rather than harm, we make an important discovery that intimate relationships can provide sanctuary from the world of facades, a sacred space where we can be ourselves just exactly as we are. This kind of unmasking, of speaking our truth, sharing our inner struggle, and revealing raw edges, this is sacred activity.
I did my inner work, my inner child work. I summoned the courage one day to reveal myself, and I asked my husband to hold me and my tears and my pain. At first, he was okay about it, and then he became quite uncomfortable and even got angry. He could not sit with my pain because he was afraid to feel his own pain. Now, I see that that's how men are socialized in our culture. To feel pain is to be vulnerable, to be weak and not in control. And men are not supposed to allow that. In fact, feeling vulnerable can make some men go right to anger. Bell Hooks like to say patriarchy has no gender. It's a big system, thousands of years old, that hurts us all, male and female alike. Just like racism hurts white people too, by cutting us off from our own wholeness and healing. Real intimacy can't happen without vulnerability. And yes, that's hard for all of us to do. And it's especially hard for men because they are or were trained not to do it, to actually react against it.
So what can we do? How do we build trust for vulnerability? How do we build strength for commitment? Bell Hooks says that self-love is the foundation of our loving practice in the world. Learning to give all 7 aspects of love to ourselves: care, affection, recognition, respect, commitment, trust, honest communication. That stretches us and sustains us and helps us grow into people who can give all of that to a romantic partner or to a child or to the world.
When I realized my needs could not be met in my marriage, I turned to a spiritual practice and to body work. I learned to work on loving myself, and that became my practice. During one bodywork session, I felt a deep shift within me. It was as if I was a caterpillar wrapped tightly in a cocoon that no longer fit. My soul knew I had to break free. My marriage was out of sync with my values. I did not want to pass down to my children my dysfunctional family patterns. I said to myself, the buck stops here. I divorced my husband. It was a long and arduous process, but liberation from the chains of my mother's choices set me free. I stepped out into self-love, and my love for others expanded. And I have been on the path ever since.
Thank you, Karen. Hooks's book is more detailed and complex than we could explain or present in a single sermon, but Karen and I would love to read it along with you if you're interested in digging into it. For today, what are some takeaways? What can we focus on? This is what I think Bell Hooks would recommend. Love yourself. Bring all those 7 aspects, ingredients of love to all your relationships and expect them in return. Give attention to your beloveds every day. Be vulnerable. It will lead you to deeper connection. Forgive yourself and others. It opens up doors. Give generously until it changes you. Live simply. Where there is greed and consumerism, love and compassion are strangled. When you live simply, you create time and space for love in your life. Earlier on in the sermon, I said that there were many kinds of love, right? Love for kids, partners, friends. But in truth, down at their base, they are all the same thing, all part of one larger whole. All love is one love. If God is love, then love is God. Our human search for love is the universal spirit crying out for itself. It is the essence of our deep knowledge that we are all connected, all one at the soul level. I'm going to give the last word to Bell Hooks. She writes, "Despite all the lovelessness that surrounds us, nothing has been able to block our longing for love, our yearning. The space of our lack is also the space of possibility. As we yearn, we make ourselves ready to receive the love that is coming to us, as gift, as promise, as earthly paradise." Amen. Now let us please join in singing our closing hymn, Answering the Call of Love by Jason Shelton, sung by our lovely choir. Please rise in body and or spirit. Thank you. If you'd please remain standing and join me in the chalice extinguishing words. We extinguish the flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of commitment, the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. You may be seated. Our service has ended. Folks here in the room can enjoy a quick prelude, a little postlude, from Tara, before we gather in Parish Hall for a masked chat with one another. Folks on Zoom, feel free to stay in the room to say hello or talk about today's service. Remember to check your email news or today's reminder to sign up for Beloved Conversations or for Fire Pit Fun next Sunday. Thank you all for worshiping with us today.